What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. I'm joined today with Tim Burkhardt. How you doing today, Tim?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. And it's great to have you. I'm excited because I've also got my very favorite audience member here watching today. And why is my favorite audience member watching today? It's because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate investors, syndicators, and operators. And why do I do that? Well, one of the biggest things is you have to find out if there's any overlap between your business and other people who are in the business. And the other thing that's a fun little extra is it's also the law. You have to know people before you can actually share your private deals. And that's really what I'm up to. So if you're a commercial investor, syndicator, or operator, let's get in touch. Let's do one of these with you. I'll make sure it's not awkward. But before we get too excited, Tim, can you please introduce yourself to the audience a little bit, please?
Yeah, so my name is Tim Burkhardt. I'm in San Diego, California. I'm focused on multifamily real estate, and I'm actually closing on a property in 2 weeks. It's a hotel that we're purchasing in Kansas City, and we are converting it into apartments. So
That's
I'm super
exciting.
excited. I'm very excited about this project. I have a background in construction. So for the past 10 years, I've been doing a lot of renovations and remodels and project management. So, being able to do a heavy lift value add is kind of right down my alley. And I'm just excited to get this project going.
Awesome, awesome. So you're not a newbie, but sometimes we have newbies on this show, and I like to start off with I'm on the wrong slide. I like to start off with the motivations because even if you don't know what role you're going to be playing, clearly Tim does know what role he's going to be playing, but at least the newbies know why they're getting involved. So let's go through those real quick first. The first motivation I've found, these are the ones that really distinguish commercial investors as far as I'm concerned. The first reason why a lot of people make new acquisitions is because they're preserving their purchasing power. They have that nest egg, but more importantly, the assets that they own, they live off of the cash flow that comes from what they own. So that's how they make ends meet. But if inflation rears its ugly head, you need to make a new acquisition to compensate for the inflation because you're not going to be you don't want to be selling off your assets because that's counterproductive if you're relying on that for making ends meet. But that's not what I'm up to. My primary motivation is this one right here, which is trading time directly for wealth. And what that's all about is I got a background in tech, and tech, it's a high salary, high wage thing. Specifically, I own a CRM agency. So that's for taking care of all of your different contacts, splitting them into lists, emailing them when you need to, and doing all the online funnels and stuff. But if you are making high wages, high salary, you're running into the problem of paying more tax than anybody else. So I put on my thinking cap and was like, well, what can I do to multiply my equity, my capital that way, instead of having that intermediate step? So this is what I'm up to. But the more frequent answer is people are looking to gain control of their time. Maybe they only want to keep the door open for retirement, but I really think that a lot of W-2 jobs, you don't really leave that door open without a real estate play. But really, when I say fast track retirement and gaining control of your time, maybe for you that means working fewer months per year or fewer weeks per month or fewer hours per week. Regardless what it is, it's not supposed to be hustling for hustle's sake. And that's different from the next group who they're so ambitious, they want to buy their entire hometown. They're for that generational wealth. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold down a day job. And so they're going to be hustling into their 90s, which is a great thing to have in a team. And the last group, though, they're also going to be big hustlers because they've got another type of motivation. They've found a sector of society, or maybe it's the environment or animals, maybe they want to send people to space. Who knows what it is? But they realize that you have to have that financial backing if you're going to make a really big impact on society or whatever. So that's why they're making acquisitions. So, of those five different motivations, Tim, which of those resonate with you best? What combination of them describe you?
Definitely the last two. So helping people has been a really big part of my life, and I've been really inspired to educate and help people and just teach people, some of the skills and experiences that I've had in my life, and helping people that are less fortunate. It's really, brings a lot of fulfillment to my life. And also, I want to create generational wealth for my family and take care of, my both my parents were kind of corporate workers and work for nonprofits, and they don't have a whole lot of money. And my wife is from South Korea, and left her friends and family and everything behind. So I really want to be able to make a big impact and be able to help them and help other people, who want to take control of their lives. And my goal really is to have, I'd like to have 10,000 units of apartments under management within 10 years. So, I mean, I know there's some people out there trying to go more aggressive, but that's really what I'd like.
Yep, yeah, it's absolutely conceivable. I know that my last boss, he ended up picking up 3,000 doors in the last 2 years. So that was really something. But let's move on to the next question here, which is right there. It is for the tolerance of risk assessment. It's important to know. You can't just say, "Oh, how much risk do you like? A lot of risk, or just like a little bit sprinkled on top?" So please, if you could fill in this blank. There are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. Can you think of any asset classes that lots of people invest in them, but you think that stuff's just nuts?
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, I think that I'm flipping it. So the culture and the tradition is to invest in 401ks and a lot of retirement funds that I just don't believe are valuable at all. You're actually losing money compared to investing in other asset classes that are more stable and have more appreciation and you can control. So, when you sit your money with, some investment company, they take the majority of all your benefit and they take so much high fees, and it's just such an absolute joke. And then, you see so many of these baby boomers now with 401ks over the last 30, 40 years, and, they've been decimated in 2008 and again, 2022. So, they don't have money and it's just destroyed their finances. So, that's terrible.
Yep, I absolutely love it. Yep, definitely. I think that's very, very timely, I think is the word that I'm looking for. But let's talk specifically about the roles of a deal so we know your core competency. So I want you in the audience to know that the dandoesdeals.com, yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's finally showing there. So it was a little bit too much glare. The Dan Does Deals commercial roll die is available on dandoesdeals.com. I don't ask for your email address. It's completely free. I do want you to print it out because I want you to be able to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. If you actually want to get serious about this, it's going to hinge on whether or not you can explain this stuff. So I'm going to go through all 6 of the main roles in a deal so that you understand how it works, and also so you can figure out how Tim fits into this. So let's go right from the start. The repositioner. A repositioner is looking at a lot of different properties because they're the acquisitions people. That means they're talking to the sellers and they're buying the new properties. And what's all this paperwork and what's all that all about? Well, that has to do with the first thing that a repositioner has to do. There's a fancy word for it. It's called underwriting. And what that means is they do the math. They figure out, first of all, is this property making what the seller says it is? And then what they're doing is they're saying, how can I change the property? That's the reposition part. How do they reposition the property so that it makes more money than right now? And there are 3 main tools in their tool belt to pull that off. The first one, which isn't so big right now, is more advantageous loans to financiers. Financiers are people who deal with only money and paper. Okay, so if you can get better loan, then the repositioner will do better. But let's assume that that's not going to happen. Operations is probably the first tool that a lot of repositioners think of in finding that upside. What they're doing is they're making more efficient operations to stop those Benjamins from going down the toilet. But of course, there's more to operations than just running the place, collecting rent, taking out trash, all that sort of fun stuff. One of the things that I contribute to my GP teams is the marketing piece. And the importance of that is to keep the vacancy rate super duper low. But I also have some chops with programming and tech which helps with automations and management that way. But operations, you can get them really, really efficient, and that's probably not enough to really move the needle for most repositioners. So they'll get a contractor team to come on in, and the contractor team will actually make the units nicer. And then that way, when you get new tenants, they'll be happy to pay more than the old owners were able to fetch. So one problem about having the contractor team, though, for some repositioners is maybe they're like me. I'm from the internet, so I need a local. I need boots on the ground, somebody who can be there in an hour or two, because that's not going to be me. I'd still be messing with the airport in an hour or two. But that seems like the list of owners. And of course, the financiers are often involved in some degree as well. But if the repositioner turns around to the financier and says, here's my deal, here's the property, here's the team, all that kind of stuff, the financier, with what I've said so far, they're going to ask one question that hasn't been answered, which is, who's your KP? Okay, who's your KP? And what that's all about is, if you want to be eligible for a commercial loan, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset. So if it's a 150 unit apartment complex, a 350 unit apartment complex, it doesn't matter. You have to have somebody who already owns one in the fold, or you will not be eligible for the loan. On top of that, you need a certain amount of liquidity, and then you need a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you got all of those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So, Tim, you already mentioned that you had that contractor background, and so you're going to be helping, like in some degree, with verifying and vetting for the appraisals, like basically any estimates that are going on during due diligence, and that's great. But that's just what I've been able to gather. Where do you see yourself as far as your core competencies that you're going to be contributing?
Yeah, thanks. My core competency is definitely on the operations side. So, it does definitely bleed over into the acquisitions, the repositioning
Right.
core competency. Dealing with all the CapEx budgeting, to helping the underwriter to tweak those numbers, getting a hold of contractors, property management, inspectors, all that local team. Bringing that logistics together and then coming up with a business plan. And then, during the hold of the property, through executing the business plan, working on portion of that asset management, and is really what I would be able to thrive on the most.
Beautiful, beautiful. So then the next question has to do with your ideal property. Now, when commercial investors are talking to each other and they say, hey, what's your buy box? What's your ideal property? What you looking for? They're really asking about three main things. Okay. First thing is geography. Okay. So what states? Possibly what counties, possibly what neighborhood. Okay. Location, location, location. That's the geography. I got to know that, or else that's not really great. Second one is, you need to know the size of the deal. And we're talking about multifamily, and multifamily is the same as with retail and with self-storage and mobile home parks. There's a unit count is how we decide the size. Okay. If you're talking about industrial or you're talking about warehousing, then it's going to be square footage. But that size of the deal is going to be the second thing we need to know. The third one, it's class, but unfortunately they use the same word for two different things. The first use of the word, it's talking about the condition of the building. In other words, how old and beat up is it? Or how brand new and immaculate is it? And how luxurious is it? Okay, that's the first meaning of class. The second meaning of class, it has to do with the neighborhood that it's in. So what's the crime rate like in that neighborhood? What are the school districts like? Okay, that's also part of class. That's the other version of class. And both types, they rate the same way as in grade school. So maybe it's like a C plus or a B or an A minus or something like that. So Tim, as far as properties where if somebody's got it in hand and they're looking to like what's the perfect property for you? What gets you all excited?
So my team is specifically in South Florida, and Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
We are targeting properties that are off market, and preferably direct to seller, to get that reduced cost and not have all those broker fees. But it would be a property in the 10 to 50 unit range, and it would be a property that is in a B area or better,
Mm-hmm.
and one that is needing renovations. So whether that is, something that was built in 1980 or even in 2000, if it needs a good amount of work, something where we can force the appreciation, that would be ideal for us. My team and I are looking to purchase 4 of these in the next year to year and a half, and then begin to scale up. We're just being conservative at the moment, and not wanting to, as everything's right at the pinnacle of this economic change, we're not trying to put in offers that are, not beneficial for our investors at this point in time.
All right, beautiful.
Did I miss any of those, or did I hit everything?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, you hit the class, you hit the geography, and then you hit the unit count. So you're good. So you caught me for a second though. It's kind of funny. But my next question has to do with people, and one of the best things about commercial real estate is that because it's multifaceted, like nobody's going to be doing all six sides of the die for any real meaningful amount of time. It means that we are all building teams. We're all very cooperative. We're eager to give referrals to help out the people that we already know. But we all also, because of our skill sets, will have some people we can disproportionately help. Me personally, it's the sponsors and KPs. The reason why I'm always on the lookout for sponsors and KPs is because of my marketing and tech background. So you need to have some sort of business foundation first before I can really, really be fuel to the fire. Whereas like when you're first getting started as a repositioner, it's the grunt work that matters a lot more than the brains. And so then like on that level, I'm not really prepared to compete quite at so much. Now it sounds, because like you said that you like to do a lot of direct to seller, you could say that sponsors KPs are existing owners. So that means you would be the same as me if you're looking more specifically for them. I don't know if you have any 506B deals going on right now, but you're not allowed to entice investors if you have a 506B deal on. So don't do that. But who can you disproportionately help? Like is it beginners, established people? You mentioned direct to seller. So maybe it's them. But who can you help more than anybody else in commercial real estate?
um, I think that people that have no construction background, I don't think it really matters who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think there's a pretty big lack of people that are knowledgeable in the construction industry that want to jump into real estate, because, a lot of times they come from a finance background or they just jumped right into real estate. So maybe they've worked with some contractors, but they don't know the intricate detail of the whole process of a renovation process, and every single person that needs to be involved in inspections and all the permitting and all that stuff. That's really, really valuable and really necessary for making sure your business plan comes together right. So I guess it could be anybody, any one of those core competencies that's lacking that, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. Great, great. So it sounds like also like repositioners who've never really they don't have construction experience. I always like to laugh too, because I noticed how many investors I see where I'm not entirely convinced they've ever actually lived in an apartment. And it's like, well, it's important if you want to understand how to make tenants' lives better, and I love that. But so that's who can help you, who you can help. But the best way to reach out to you, we met through some meetups. I tend to spend all my time in LinkedIn, and that's where I end up finding my meetups. Is LinkedIn the best way to reach you, or is there a website that's better, or how should people get in touch if they're a good fit?
Yeah, LinkedIn's a great. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. LinkedIn's a great platform. But you could send me an email or also text me if you wanted to. Texts are always easy. You always get them right away, and it's easy to reference. So if you need a few, couple days to respond or something. So you want me to just say those out here, or?
Sure. The other thing you can do if you have a problem with that is your LinkedIn profile. If you're a first connection, usually it has a contact info link, and then that will show all your email and your phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. But so far, with like the size of the crowds and all that kind of stuff, and the people who actually watch these episodes, if you want to just go ahead and say it, you can.
Yeah.
And the other thing I do for security to keep spammers away is I don't bother correcting the email addresses in the captions. Just because it's like I want people to jump through a little bit of hoops to contact people so they don't just spam the crap out of them. But go ahead, it's your call.
Right. Sure. Yeah. No worries. So my cell phone number is 760-402-3013. And
Mhm.
my email address is tim@buildersci.com.
All right, Builder SCI. Got it. Cool. And so the only thing left then, it's actually not for you, Tim. It's for you in the audience. It has to do with my awareness campaign, which is a lot of people are very offended by big red buttons. And if you're not careful, if you look under my left hand, there might be a big red button. and you really should get rid of it. It's embarrassing. All you have to do to get rid of it is you click on it. It's the one that says subscribe on it. So if you click on it, it'll turn gray. I love the gray one. The gray one is absolutely amazing. My favorite thing about the gray one has to be the fact that if enough people do that, then YouTube will actually start paying for these videos instead of me, which that sounds absolutely amazing. But jokes aside, what it really means is that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but you can go ahead and ignore those. I just appreciate you spending the time watching today. And just like Tim, I appreciate you joining me today. This has been great getting to know you a bit better.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and realestateisascam.com has the brand new book, which is what you should have. You should have the book. And what's the book all about? Real estate's a scam? Well, it's my biggest thing is taking aim at coaches who teach people how to do illegal real estate transactions, because that pissed me right off when I learned about it. And the other thing too is the different securities acts that basically mean if you're poor, then you're going to have to meet a bunch of lawyers and get really, really lucky just to make sure you're not breaking the law by raising money. Anyway, so I hope you check it out. Thanks, guys. Bye.